It's such a pleasure to meet you. Are you a hugger?
Yes, let's do it.
Monica, you must know how this started.
This is terrifying for me. I'm like a library mouse bookworm. I'm like not a public-facing person.
Okay,
so.
well, you're already so warm feeling.
Well, listen what happened. I saw Rob by the staircase when I left the house. So by the time I got out and went up the stairs to grab my drink, I saw that he was in the bathroom. And I go, Jesus, what are you taking a shit in there? It was Rachel.
I was like, don't you wish I was?
Oh, no.
Isn't that terrible?
It's funny.
No.
Oh, my God.
Did you get really scared?
No.
Yes, you did.
Good Lord.
What a nice
I know
break.
where I am. Like, come on. Come on.
Even for me, though.
Yeah,
that would
even
be
for you,
great.
you would not do that.
We have a friend in common also.
Who?
Do you see the person who wrote the endorsement on the top of the book?
Who did it?
Oh, I did see that. Yes.
Anna Lemke.
I'm obsessed with
Oh,
her.
yes.
Yeah, she's the reason I teach at Stanford. Yeah, because
Wow.
addiction, medicine, and pain are best friends.
Yeah, that's
Surprising.
right.
So you're down presumably from San Francisco. Do you live there?
Yeah, I'm in the Bay Area.
You are.
But I'm
Well,
originally a New Yorker, which is why I have an attitude problem and I wear too much black and I curse all the time. I feel like I'm in good company.
those are good attributes.
I thought you said
for
you were like a church mouse.
Library mouse, very, very different than church
library
mouse.
mouse.
Yeah, super
Yeah,
different.
library people are
different.
pervs.
Oh, dang.
I think they're like in the nurse category.
What's happening?
Oh, dang,
Tell me
girl.
what's happening. Yeah, no, I was like the kid who was shy and quiet. Quiet and shy, and was in the library reading all the time.
Yeah, okay.
And just like books were my friends.
Oh,
Different than a
cute.
church mouse.
Yeah, that is
Didn't
different.
really
You're
go
right.
to church.
How has teaching been for you? Because that requires a ton of like
Yeah.
get up in front of people and speak.
Yeah. What's funny is that during the pandemic, this thing happened where I was supposed to give all these talks, and I was actually doing that because it was partially a treatment for my own performance anxiety and public speaking anxiety. Yeah, like the treatment is exposure therapy, right? Like if
Yeah.
you never do it, you never get through it. So
Yep.
I had all these talks planned, and then everything got canceled. And I was like, okay, what do I do now? So I started planning like virtual talks, and I started cold pitching podcast hosts. And I pitched a couple of people who actually had really big platforms, and I didn't realize it at the time. As I started doing more and more podcasts, I think I did like 42 of them.
Wow.
Oh my goodness.
And like Ezra Klein came calling,
Yeah.
you know, and by the time I did that one, I had done so many that I felt pretty secure in what I wanted to say. And I feel very passionate about the topic, and I keep my patients in my mind when I talk about the topic. So, I hate doing. I'm sweating through my clothes.
Well, that's also because it's
For sure.
500. It's
It's also 90
Oh my
degrees.
God, that
I'm
never
never
happened.
But you
hot.
can also take off your sweater.
I know. I'm considering it. But it's
not
a
gonna
cute
happen. 'Cause-
outfit.
Yeah, it's not going to happen. She would be dying of heat exhaustion. We'd say, "Can we remove the sweaters?" I don't know.
No, it's
No,
a cute
it's
color.
I'll die doing what I
It's
love.
a layered.
Being in
Yeah.
this cute sweater.
Thank you to our presenting sponsor, HP, for supporting this episode. Their HP Smart Tank printer is the last printer you'll ever need. Oh, here we go, Monica. With a refillable ink tank and up to 3 years of ink included, so you get thousands of pages of cartridge-free printing. Hallelujah. To learn more, search for HP Smart Tank.
Okay, so you're originally from New York. You really could write a book on universities of America, probably.
You mean because I've been to so many?
Yeah, you've been to so
Did I
many.
tell you I was a nerd? I think I did coming in here. Yeah, I'm
You
like a
started
big
at
nerd.
Brown, yeah?
Yeah, I started at Brown.
And what was you were biology?
Yeah, I was brain and behavior. I couldn't decide what I wanted to study when I was at Brown. Like, I loved neuroscience. I loved human biology. I thought psychology was so interesting. I couldn't decide if I wanted to do research or clinical work or like teach kids. So human biology, brain and behavior was sort of an amalgamation of everything. And then when I learned about pain in my first neuroscience class, it lived at the intersection of everything I thought was so rad. You know,
Because why?
because why? It
Yeah.
just depends on how far down the rabbit hole you
I mean,
want
I've
to go
heard you
and
say
how
that
soon.
you were drawn to it because you were
Yeah.
so afraid of pain.
Yeah, and that's another reason. Like, pain scares the shit out of me, and it should, right?
Yeah.
I mean, pain
That's
is
why it's
designed to be aversive. It's designed to save your life. Like, if it doesn't grab your attention and get you to stop doing the thing you're doing, there's a chance you could hurt yourself / die. So that's pain's job. But I always found pain to be very scary.
Physical pain.
Well,
Oh.
my friend. Well, my friend.
Fasten your
That's the
seatbelt.
number one question I get, especially because I study pain psychology, right? So to answer your question very briefly, guess where pain is made? It's not in your bad back and it's not in your aching knee.
In the brain.
And the parts of your brain that make emotions also make pain. Like your amygdala and your limbic system are a critical part of the pain machinery. And we all know that our bodies feel worse during times of stress and duress. Of course they do.
Yeah.
But does anyone ever tell you that at any point in your effing life?
Yes. And we're going to march through that. We're going to march through that granularly.
Yeah.
But what I want to, her question still stands because prior to you understanding that there is no difference between psychological pain and physical pain in one regard, were you someone that was afraid you were going to get physically hurt, or were you afraid you were going to get emotionally hurt?
It is a fair and good question. And yes, physical pain is what I was scared of. But of course, like, no one likes emotional pain either.
Yeah.
I don't know. Some people.
And some people like physical pain too. Like there's a whole BDSM community where pain is pleasurable and there's a reason for that.
Yeah.
And maybe we'll even get to that. But it all goes back to pain being made in the brain.
Were you sheltered? Were they very nervous kind of parents?
I would say I had very overprotective parents, and by nature, I was a shy, quiet
Indoor cat.
library mouse.
Library mouse. Yeah.
So like I was self-protective. Like my sister and brother would be running around playing sports, hitting each other with lacrosse sticks. I was in the backyard reading books by myself, self-directed. Like no one told me to do that. It wasn't because my parents were like, "You're gonna get hurt."
Were you the older?
I'm the oldest.
Yeah.
I
Because they
know.
get crazier. There's no way we can't have the library mouse at the end.
Yeah, no.
It's got to be at the
The library
beginning.
mouse is at the beginning.
Yeah, it kicks the party off. Okay, so after Brown, you go to, is it San Diego State first?
Columbia.
Columbia next, and
Yeah.
we do teaching masters there.
I got a master's in psychology. I was interested potentially in education, like teaching psychology or maybe
Yeah.
being a professor one day. Like I really couldn't decide what direction to go. I mentioned I was a science teacher at the Bronx Zoo. I was like, I love biology. I love animal behavior. Do I go that route where I'm a science educator? I was a science writer at Natural History Magazine out of the Museum of Natural History in New York City. I was like, that's rad. You're science writing. You're learning so much stuff.
Yeah.
You're translating complicated science for the lay public. Do I want to do that? I realized it was just me with my computer, and that wasn't satisfying enough.
Yeah.
So, for me, the education piece, like I am also, a glutton when it comes to information, especially science. So I was like, what can I do where I can consume the most amount of science over the course of my life? So I just went to school for as long as I could.
Yeah, were your parents at all getting frustrated? Like, we got to figure out what direction, or they were just supportive?
No, I was working really hard, and I'm very self-driven. They were not at any point worried about me.
Okay.
I think they were probably worried because I was so stressed out. Like, figuring out your life path is not a casual thing.
Yeah.
And it can feel scary and intimidating for as long as you're wondering that. And you can be on this journey for forever. Like, hopefully we'll all have different points in our career where we pivot and do different things. But for me, I've been on this path from the beginning. Like, I knew I wanted to help people. I knew I thought neuroscience was amazing. I knew that I wanted to do something with medicine. So, like, it really just naturally led me here. Like, I did my honors thesis at Brown on the neuroscience of pain, and I studied with a pain neuroscientist there.
Wow.
We studied endogenous neurochemicals that regulate pain.
Okay, so those are ones that emanate from your body. They're not exogenous, right? It's your
Correct.
body's pharmacy kit.
You got it. It's the chemicals that are made by your body's pharmacy.
And what was the most fascinating aspect of that? Like what? I think I love telling people that. Like when you take a drug, the drug itself isn't the thing that's giving you this
That's right.
sensation.
That's
it's
right.
either regulating uptake or down, right? It's just
Right.
letting the chemicals in your body go crazy.
And it's binding to receptors that your brain has because your brain already makes those chemicals.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Which is why you adjust.
Very
that-
quickly. Yeah.
Yeah,
Because
right.
it's in you. It's not whatever you're
Right.
putting
So,
in.
like, if you're taking a drug for a very long period of time, your brain does a thing where it down regulates. You probably have
Yeah.
heard this term from the other science nerds you've had on, right?
Yeah.
Where your brain stops producing as much of that thing. So, if you're taking chronic opioids, for example, your brain doesn't need to produce as many because you're giving them from an external source. So, you down regulate, you don't have as many now neurotransmitters in your brain, and the receptors are just picking up what you're giving it instead of like the homemade
Yeah.
ones.
Take me to San Diego State.
Oh, right. We're
Take me
still on the
there.
education journey. This is hard for me, by the way.
Yeah.
I hate talking about
I
myself.
guess what I'm trying to figure out when I asked about your parents and you, I guess there's two versions of this. There's one is I have anxiety. I'm afraid to pick. I don't really know what my calling is. I'm scared. Another one is like, I'm at this salad bar and I just can't stop going up to it and trying something new.
that.
It was the latter.
It was that.
Okay.
It was that, yeah. And also, I really wanted to make sure I was going in the right direction because it's a lot of time when you go to school for that long. Like, you really you want to be sure as shit that, like, this is the right direction.
Yeah.
So I just kept honing it and honing it. Yeah. So San Diego State, UCSD was where I went for my PhD.
Okay.
And I, studied clinical psychology because I decided I wanted to work with patients. And I really was fascinated by the brain-body overlap. And I felt like, I still feel this way. I felt like if I had gone to med school, I would have gotten like one slice of the pie. And if I went for my PhD in psychology, I would get another.
Yeah.
And I wanted the intersection. And I had to kind of go get that on my own,
Yeah.
to be perfectly honest.
Yeah, we just had Michael Pollan on last week.
I just saw him at a diner. He lives in my neighborhood.
Oh my
I
God.
almost went up to him and I was like, that's rude. I'm not going to do that.
Oh, he probably would have liked it.
That must be so annoying.
Oh, I
It's
don't
only
think
annoying
so.
if you go and tell him about your trip, your shroom trip.
Like
That's the
how
only
people
thing he
come
does,
up
though.
to me and tell me their pain story.
Yeah,
I don't mind.
exactly.
I actually don't mind that much because I'm like, oh my God, tell me everything.
Right, more data.
Yeah.
Okay, so at what point do you start seeing patients and specialize in pain psychology?
Yeah. I wanted to hang up a shingle right away. Like, I did the PhD because I wanted to get really good at research. Like, if you're a real nerd, you want to make sure that the papers you're reading are high quality, the data's good data. So in my PhD program, I got that. I got what I was looking for, but I really wanted to work with patients, and I was obsessed with the science of pain. People think I'm a masochist when I talk about how much
Yeah.
I'm interested in pain, but I'm not saying that I enjoy inflicting it or receiving it. Just the science is mind-blowing. It's just mind-blowing. So I wanted to treat patients right away. And I opened my doors and I told my colleagues I had been teaching a bit at UCSF and at Stanford. And I just told my colleagues, like, I'm opening my doors. I want to specialize in chronic pain. Like, I got the hardest patients. Like, I want to say this clearly. Absolutely no one wants to see a psychologist for pain. Like, I am like the used car salesman of pain medicine,
Yeah.
right? Of course not. Like, the stigma attached is like, you're saying it's all in my head. You're saying it's just
Right.
emotional. It's
It's not
psychosomatic.
real.
It's not real.
Yes.
I just want to see a medical doctor. Like, 96% of our medical schools have zero dedicated compulsory pain education. I'm going to say that one more time.
Wow.
96% of med
Yikes.
schools in the United States and Canada have zero dedicated compulsory pain education. Like, the real pain science is out there and it exists. It's just not being taught in med school.
And of the 4% that have it, the total is in the 4 to 6 hour range or something, right? It's very small.
It's
even if they
very
have
small. And check this shit out. We're going to talk about this, I'm sure.
Yeah.
The current model of understanding and treating pain is the biomedical model. And I'll say what that means. It means when we talk about pain and when we treat pain, we talk about anatomy and physiology and bones and body parts. And yes, that's important. But neuroscience has known for 65 effing years that pain is this word. It's biopsychosocial, which means, yes, there's bio components. There's also cognitive and emotional components. There's also social components. But it makes me crazy. Like, I had to study pain on my own for 700 years to really distill down, like, what is this and what are we getting wrong? And how has this happened in pain that we've created an opioid epidemic and we're still doing it today?
So Michael Pollan was in, and his new book is on consciousness. And similarly, it's riddled with the same challenges in that Rene Descartes broke the mind and the body into two things for us 300 years ago.
Yeah.
And we are stuck in that paradigm where
Yes.
there's two different things. There's your thoughts and emotions, and then your physiology or your physicality. And more and more, we now know there's no such thing as a division in any one of these components. This is one complex system that's talking at all times with itself, and it's integrated, and there's no division that can be made. And to put a super fine point on what you're saying, because I'm currently dealing with it with a loved one, to say that it's more than just the physical pain is not to say it's not real. it's 100% real. And the question is, what's contributing to it, right? It's very relevant. How are we getting to this pain, which is 1,000% real?
Yes.
And anyone who's listening to Preventing the Defensiveness, it's real, real, real. No one is suggesting that the pain is not real. So to your point, the patients you're getting have generally gone through years, in some cases, of exploring every single medical option for their pain, right?
Yes.
So what are some examples?
Yeah, I mean,
MRIs and
that was sort of like what triggered when you asked me like about opening the private practice.
Yeah.
I was getting the patients who weren't getting better. So like I have this patient who lives in my brain. And of course I'm changing names and personal details because that's what you're supposed to do. And it's very important for patient privacy.
Yeah.
But I have this patient in my mind and I still see him all the time when I talk about pain. One of the chronic pain patients that really sticks in my mind is Sam.
it was really Samuel.
Sammy. And he had been in bed for 4 years and he had been on 40 medications. He had seen 14 specialists. And I want to describe him to you because I see him in my mind's eye every time I talk about him. He had long unwashed hair and his skin was pasty and pale and he was rocking himself back and forth on my couch with pain. And what's funny is I remember thinking to myself, who do I think I am? Like this kid had been to Stanford.
So the punchline is he's 16 or 17.
Yeah,
This person who's been bedridden for 4 years
Yes.
is only 17?
correct.
Oh my God.
And at 17, when you've missed 4 years of life,
Yeah.
that is really significant. Like those are all the milestones. You really only get those once. But I did have imposter syndrome. I absolutely was like, who do I think I am? So, just we talked about my training and how I'm a nerd and studying pain neuroscience and endogenous brain chemicals that make pain and pain psychology and biology. But I really think of myself as a pain detective. Like that's what I am. And when someone comes to my office, it's my job to figure out all of the factors that are contributing to the pain, that are amplifying the pain and are perpetuating the pain cycle. So when I assessed Sam, like I had his records, like I had all the, yes, family history of migraine, diagnosed with migraine and diffuse amplified body pain of unknown etiology, meaning he was riddled with pain all over his body. No one knew where it was coming from. He had had a million tests. He had been on all the drugs, right? So when I assess my patients, yes, I want to know your medical history. If you haven't had all the tests and the scans, I'm going to send you, I want to know that your blood and body parts are okay.
Yeah.
Right. Looked at all the tests. Then I want to know about the rest of you. We use this word biopsychosocial. That means that there are a lot of factors contributing to pain in any given moment, like all the time. Sam was depressed and suicidal. Shocking. He had been in bed for 4 years. He had no friends, no life, no hope.
Yeah, he left in 7th grade.
Totally.
From 7th grade,
Totally.
he detaches from playing soccer, from having friends.
But what happened?
That's
He had a
all.
From
migraine.
school.
Like the first thing is he had a migraine, and then
He had crippling migraines.
okay, in his 7th grade, he had he had crippling migraines,
Yes.
and then
And
Oh,
diffuse
I hate
amplified
this.
body pain. So severe body pain, all the tests, no one knew what was going on. He couldn't go to school. His loving parents were like, what are we supposed to do? Yeah. He was like, I can't go to school. So he stopped going. And that just never ended.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
You would be surprised by how common this is in the pain world. So I started getting all of those patients. But I want to tell you what happened with Sam.
Yeah.
He was depressed and suicidal. He was socially anxious, like crippling social anxiety. Couldn't talk to kids. His pain was always worse Sunday nights and Monday mornings. So there's a pattern to the pain.
Yeah.
Of course, yeah.
He was on a white food diet.
What?
So
like rice and bread
Pasta.
and oh
he
my
didn't
God.
like fruits and vegetables,
Pasta and fries. I doubt he was
pizza,
getting any-
pasta, chips, bread.
Oh,
You would pray for rice, I think, for
well,
Sam.
rice is white.
I mean, that's not uncommon for a big chunk of the American pediatric population. You just don't like fruits and vegetables, and so don't eat them.
If they're saying they can't eat or they're too sick to eat, then your parents can be like, fine, just eat these chips, I guess.
Yes.
Eat something.
And his only activity
Yes.
at this point, because he's very
Was reading books.
in playing video games.
And playing
Very
video
nice.
games. So he's up till 4 a.m. playing video games. His sleep hygiene was off. So in order to help Sam, I knew I needed to help him look at the whole recipe and fix the whole recipe. So we we changed his nutrition, had a come to Jesus talk with mom and dad. We were like, how is his body supposed to fight this thing if he's not getting appropriate nutrition? Put him on a sleep hygiene protocol. He had to wake up at like 10 instead of like 2 in the afternoon.
Oh, this is
Peeling it back, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I like how small you started.
Exactly.
You had really tiny
Yep.
steps for him to take. I think the first one was to go outside.
It's called a pacing protocol, and
Yeah.
it's one of the most fundamental parts of a pain plan for people with chronic pain. So week 1, he was standing outside in the sun on his porch and texting just one friend. Week 2, he was walking to the corner mailbox and mailing a letter. His mom would actually give him like bills she had to pay. Week 3, he was taking his dog to the dog park and having a conversation, and we scripted it. Cute dog. But remember, paralyzing social anxiety, isolated, stuck at home. By the way, that will amplify pain. Like all of these ingredients. He got a tutor, started catching up in school, went for his first haircut. Dude, when that kid came to my office after his first haircut, he also had gone and bought a backpack. He was a child transformed. That was like 1 month in. 1 month in. Some sunlight, some social exposure. By the way, the more he did, the more he realized he could do.
Yeah.
Mood started going up. Stress and anxiety started going down. And oh shit, the brain's connected to the body. When stress and anxiety started going down and mood started going up, all these things started changing. His pain started changing too.
Yeah, the virtuous cycle or the destructive cycle
Yes.
is spinning.
Yes.
So the one he was in was just going to get worse and worse and worse until probably suicide or something else was on the table.
Yes.
And just the notion that one thing's feeding into another, and then slowly it's all gaining momentum. And the fact that he was happy when he came to your office with a haircut and a
his
backpack
face was
is
shining.
Yes, and he spoke at his graduation. He returned to school.
I love that he had an impact on you. I still think about him. He graduated from high school and he walked across the stage and he said, if you had told me 4 years ago I'd be graduating high school, I never would have believed you. I maybe cried.
Yeah, of course.
You know, that kid got asked to prom by 2 girls, not by 1 when he went back to school.
And he went with both somehow. I
went
would
to both.
love to talk to him how he
they were 2
juggled
different
that.
schools. 2 different schools.
Oh, yeah, I thought it was at the same prom. I'm like, how
Okay.
does Sam?
I still hear from his parents. Yeah, and I have to tell you,
saved his life.
very selfishly,
You did.
It changed my life. I'm not joking. That kid, I was like, I'm never doing anything else. Like, what are we when I met that kid, he was on opioids and Thorazine. Do you know about Thorazine?
No, I don't.
I also worked on an inpatient psych unit. So like if you're homicidal or suicidal, you will go to an inpatient psych unit where they lock the doors. And if someone's having an acute psychotic episode, they will shoot you full of Thorazine and knock you the F out. This child was on opioids and Thorazine for his pain because we tell people that pain is a purely biomedical problem that requires a purely biomedical solution. I want to say clearly, I am not a magician, but that kid got out of bed and back to life. He will never again be the kid who's in bed for 4 years. That will never happen to him again. What are we doing to people in pain? Like you can tell, it makes me crazy.
Yeah,
like
well,
it's
you've
not
seen
beyond
it.
anybody's understanding. You know?
Yeah, so let's talk about, first of all, the subjectivity of pain. I think you've got a lot of different great examples of how we can illustrate that it's not just the broken bone, although that is definitely part of it.
Yeah.
But I think a good place to start is amputee
Phantom limb pain.
Phantom limb pain.
I'm obsessed with phantom limb.
Explain,
You are?
Explain phantom limb pain to
Okay,
people.
but only if I get to hear after why Monica's obsessed with phantom pain. Or before.
I'm kind of obsessed with pain. Well, not pain,
Oh.
but you know, I'm a little bit of what Dax would say a hypochondriac. I don't identify that way, but he identifies me that way.
Dax would say.
And so, you know, I am hyper aware of like what will cause distress and pain. And I avoid those things pretty much at all costs. So when, in a psychology class, when I learned about phantom limb, I was like, what in the, like, that's horrifying.
Okay, so we have all been sold a big fat lie about pain and what it is. Right. So pain is the body's warning system. It's our danger detection system. However, we have been told that pain lives exclusively in our body, in the part that hurts. You have back pain, you see 762 back doctors, and you probably get back surgery, and maybe you get a prescription. You have chronic knee pain, you see 40 million knee specialists, maybe you have surgery, maybe you take medications. Now, I want to say clearly, surgeries are important and useful. Medications are important and useful. They are not the only treatment for pain, and they are not the best treatment for chronic pain, not by a long shot.
It's really important because we're going to primarily be talking about chronic pain.
Yeah.
And acute pain is pain that lasts
3 months or fewer.
under. And that is your stomach hurts. You might have gotten food poisoning. So great. These are all
Broken bone, illness,
Yes.
acute illness, yes.
So anything that persists for longer than 3 months.
Yes.
Now we're into the chronic pain
You
category.
got it.
And this is where we really want to focus.
So I am going to be talking about the definition of pain across the board, but you are right. You know, generally speaking, God, my language is so bad. The fuckery comes when we talk about chronic pain. I'm so sorry for people who are listening, but I know where I am, so hopefully the audience is okay. But like the chronic pain world is where we really screw people.
Yeah.
But, you know, but this is true for acute pain too, just the basic science of pain. So
Yeah.
we've all been told pain lives just in our body part that hurts. One of the reasons we know pain isn't constructed just by the body part that hurts is because of this thing called phantom limb pain. Phantom limb pain is when someone loses a limb, an arm or a leg, and they continue to have terrible pain. Monica's knocking on wood. They continue to have terrible pain in the missing body part.
Debilitating pain.
If you can have terrible leg pain in a leg that is no longer attached to your body, that tells us pretty definitively that pain cannot live exclusively in the body part that hurts. Like I had a patient with phantom hand pain who had lost his hand and his arm in a terrible firework accident.
Mateo. Another young boy.
Mateo. He felt like his hand was constantly spasming, the muscle
Cramping. The notion
cramping.
of cramping.
Sometimes it was picking things up. So if you can have hand pain in a hand that is no longer attached to your body, that tells us pretty definitively that pain is constructed somewhere else and that somewhere else is the brain. And we said before that the parts of the brain that make emotions also make physical pain.
Yeah, so the nervous system
Yes.
is kind of mapped in your brain. You have a neural network that knows where all the nerve endings are, and it's communicating. And it's interesting. This phantom limb pain is an outgrowth of the fact that your brain believes you still have this same nervous system you had before some of it was removed.
Yes.
And it takes a while to update it.
That's right.
I mean, that's mind-blowing, isn't it? It's like it
a
has a
computer
map of
system.
what it's supposed to have, and it
Yeah.
hangs on to the map long after that a piece has been removed.
Stay tuned for more Armchair Expert, if you dare.
We are supported by HP. My mental to-do list is already full. Fix something around the house, refill prescriptions, remember to text someone back, keep track of a million little life things. The last thing I want on that list is, don't forget printer ink.
No, it's horrible.
It's the bane of everyone's existence. What if you could just take that off your list for years?
The dream.
That's the idea behind the HP Smart Tank printer from America's most trusted printer brand. Instead of those tiny cartridges that always seem to run out at the worst time, the HP Smart Tank uses a refillable ink tank, and it comes with up to 3 years of ink included. It's built to be simple, the easiest tank printer you'll ever use, with the best print quality, period. It's the last printer you'll ever need. I've definitely been in this situation where something that should take 2 minutes turns into a whole thing. Like I need to print tickets and get out the door, but then I realize I'm out of ink and have to deal with it right then. With the HP Smart Tank, that's just not something you're dealing with all the time. It's one of those things that just works when you need it to. If you want to take one more thing off your mental to-do list, search for HP Smart Tank. We are supported by Allstate. Checking Allstate first could save you hundreds on car insurance. That's smart. Not checking your phone's battery before heading out, that'll get you every time. Of course, your phone dies on the way to meet someone, leaving you wandering around quietly panicking about being in the wrong spot. Yeah, checking first is smart. So check Allstate first for a quote that could save you hundreds. You're in good hands with Allstate. Potential savings vary, subject to terms, conditions, and availability. Allstate North American Insurance Co. and affiliates, Northbrook, Illinois.
So Mateo, what did you do with Mateo?
Yeah. What you're talking about is you have a map of your body that lives in your brain. It's called the homunculus. And like actually when I teach this, like I see patients of all ages, adults and kids. But when I teach kids, I ask them what they think a homunculus might look like, and they draw me pictures. And I used to have a whole wall full of drawings.
So cute.
I see like a triceratops with an elephant's trunk.
See?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
definitely it's some sort of
Homunculus.
It's a
animal.
pachyderm.
Sure. No,
Definitely
I
a
went
pachyderm.
hippo, but that's just
that's
because
a
of the. But
pachyderm.
that's because it sounds like.
Yeah, you're good.
Yeah, right. And it's a really cool map. So like if I tell you right now, without doing anything, to sense into your right foot, like what is your right foot doing? Can you feel it? Can you feel it on the table?
Yeah.
Is it warm or cold? You can do that. And the reason you can do that
Yeah.
is because of your homunculus. It's like a sensory and motor map. So with phantom patients, there's a treatment called mirror therapy. And with mirror therapy, there's a lot of books on this. It's so interesting. And you erect a mirror. So like they have their functional arm and the damaged arm, and you put a mirror up. They hide the damaged arm, and the good arm stays up, and there's a mirror reflecting back to the brain, the undamaged arm doing things. So they engage in activities and exercises, and it feeds back to the brain an image of two healthy arms. And it helps update the out-of-date brain map.
But what, that
It's
feels
kind
like
of
it would be the
counterintuitive.
opposite.
Yeah, it's kind of counterintuitive.
So you see your like damaged left arm in the mirror. Your left arm's hidden. Your damaged left arm sits
Right.
up behind you. But your brain sees your left arm and your right arm
Yeah,
doing
both
things
functioning.
together. And like Dax said, like the map in your brain just hasn't caught up with the damage that has occurred. And like that arm is gone. Like it's not in
Yeah.
danger anymore, but pain is the body's danger system. So
Oh,
your
I see.
brain is
It's
going to
to fix
continue
the
making
pain.
yes.
Yeah,
It's not
yeah.
to, it's not
Yes.
to trick your brain into thinking you have.
It's like
No,
unplugging
no.
the association
Of
with
something
your
negative.
left damaged arm by
Yes, that
seeing
makes
your right
sense.
damaged arm in its place.
Yes.
It's
that makes
it's
sense.
quieting the danger alarm. It's like
Wow.
exactly. And that's the whole trick with pain is like pain is the body's danger system. So credible evidence of danger will amplify the alarm. Credible evidence of safety will lower the alarm.
Wow.
So like one of my favorite examples of this is like, you know, if you get slapped and bitten when you're having sex with a hot partner and you want it, it will
Right.
feel good. If you get slapped and bitten when you're getting mugged, you bet your ass that is going to feel completely different to your danger alarm because pain is biopsychosocial, which means it takes into account bio information, but also contextual and social information, and also emotions and where you are in the moment and who you're with and what's happening.
And
So-
intention.
and intention.
Safety.
Yeah.
Safety.
Yeah. Think of a massage. There's so many great examples. A massage,
So many.
which would otherwise be painful, is like euphoric because you have put it in this framing.
You're there on purpose.
Yeah.
You desire it. You're paying the person to do this to you.
Yeah. You
And
have some notion that it's medicinal. I mean, I
Yes,
always think that's like,
yes.
oh, they're getting the knot out. No, I don't know if physiologically
Right.
that's even
Yeah.
true, but I think we're making progress towards my health.
Yes.
Some control over it.
That is huge. Think about when you think about safety, control is a
Yes,
big part of that, right?
everything, really.
Yeah, enjoying capsaicin, like eating hot foods.
Da-da-da-da. The
We
winner
enjoy
of the
that.
hot ones. Yes.
Yeah, we enjoy that pain. Oh,
Some
there's
of us.
so,
Tattoos, MMA fighting. What are you kidding? Like, there's a million examples of enjoying pain on purpose. It's expectations, it's your context, it's emotions, it's predictions.
Yeah. We want to think it's a subjective thing. It sends
No.
a signal. The signal itself is pain. No, the signal's not. It goes into the computer, and the computer interprets and comes to a conclusion.
10 out of 10. If I could give you a grade, you would get A++.
Oh, thank you.
But that's the thing that we don't know. That's the thing we don't know. So like even now, if you Google what a nociceptor is, like a nociceptor are the neurons that live in your body, in your tissues, in your skin, your organs, and they feed information about potential danger to your brain. Potential danger. But if you look it up, you're going to be told that it's a pain receptor. It makes me crazy. That is sensory data. Sensory data isn't pain until it reaches the brain, and the brain uses all available information to decide whether or not to make pain and how much.
Yeah.
So it isn't a pain receptor. It's like temperature, it's touch.
It's reflex. So you touch a flame,
Yes.
a hot burner.
Yes.
Nociception makes your body move before you even think about it or process it. You have an instinctual reaction to that. And I learned all this from Ed Young's book, Immense World. So all these different animals have nociception.
Yes.
But they don't necessarily have pain. Some do, some don't. We're figuring out which ones do. But all animals have this.
Nociception.
Yes.
So what happens is those danger detectors in your skin, organs, send data first to your spinal cord, and your spinal cord initiates that automatic instant response.
Right.
Exactly right.
Again, there's a lot of animals that demonstrate constantly they have these survival reflexes.
Yes.
But they don't have any of the other signatures for pain. So we are somewhat unique in how sophisticated our interpretation is.
Yeah, it's true.
Okay, I think now's a great time to talk about a tale of two nails.
Oh,
Sometimes things are so interesting that I'm reading about that they make it to my dinner table. So last night, I had to tell my daughters about this.
the tale of two nails.
Yeah. So let's talk
hear
about
it.
our first construction worker.
So I was reading these great papers. There was this one from, I believe it was like 1995 in the British Medical Journal. And they wrote about this construction worker who had been on a job site and he jumped off a plank straight onto a 7-inch nail. So he was in terrible pain. They rushed him to the emergency room. They gave him really good drugs. He was in terrible pain. They gave him a bunch of opioids and fentanyl was one of them. He got all the good stuff. And when the good doctors removed his boot, they discovered that a miracle had occurred. The nail had passed between the space between his toes.
No.
There was no puncture
No.
wound.
Yeah.
There was no tissue damage,
Everything's groovy.
no blood, but his pain was real. How is that possible? His brain, aka his danger detector, used all available information to decide whether or not to make pain and how much. Pain is your body's danger alarm. It exists to save your life. So it used knowledge of his dangerous work environment, memories of past pain experiences and injuries on the job site. It used the horror of the construction workers' faces, his friends around him, the visual data of this crazy nail, and his brain perceived potential danger, and it made pain to protect him. Tale of nails number 2.
Yeah.
Second construction worker, most dangerous job apparently ever, on a job site using a nail gun. Nail gun misfires. He sees a nail shoot across the room, bury in the wall across from him. Nail gun ricochets backwards, clocks him in the jaw.
Yeah, he hits himself in the chin with the nail gun.
But he sees a nail
hurts.
shoot across the room. And he has mild jaw pain, mild toothache, mild headache. Continues on with work and life for 6 days. At the end of 6 days, he says to his wife, maybe I'll check out this tooth.
Yeah, I can still feel this tooth a little bit.
Goes to the dentist,
It gets
scans
an
his patient's
X-ray.
jaw.
And Rob, please put up the X-ray of him. Okay, so listener.
Much to both men's surprise, they discover a 4-inch nail embedded in his face. I spoke with Dr. Seth Rainier on the phone. That's how big of a nerd I am.
Yeah.
I was tracking down this photo. I wanted it so bad for the book.
Yeah.
He said, this is the luckiest guy ever.
And for the listeners, so the nail has entered the top of his jaw and it has passed all the way through his zygomatic, everything all the way up into the frontal lobe. The brain is spanning from his upper jaw into his brain.
Yes, and the whole story and the picture is also in the book for people who can't see it.
Yes. This guy has an enormous chunk of metal in his face.
And I want to say clearly, very real damage, very little pain. Now, if pain were a reflection of how much damage we have to our body, gentleman number 2 with the giant nail in his face should be in crippling, excruciating pain. Gentleman number 1, who has a nail in his boot, but not his foot, should actually be fine. And we have all had experiences like this. This is a stark example, but if you've ever gotten into the shower and you have black and blue marks on your body, you're like, how did those get there? That's evidence of damage to your body without the pain.
Yeah.
We know that pain and damage are not the same thing, but we continue to get sold that lie.
Okay, so now, and this is the area that I'm constantly saying on here out loud because I heard it from Lane Norton, but I'm relieved to hear.
Lane Norton is a buddy of mine.
Oh, is he? He's the greatest. I talk about this one often, but you have 2 examples of it, but now I have the precise numbers, which I'm grateful for, which is there's been 2 incredibly compelling studies because back pain's among the most common pains.
80 to 85% of people develop chronic back pain at some point.
Chronic back pain, yeah. So They scanned 3,000 healthy individuals, meaning people who have zero back pain, no reported back pain.
You got it.
And nearly all of the individuals scanned, 90% of subjects ages 60 to 69 and 80% of subjects aged 50 to 59 had bulging discs, disc degeneration, and other anatomical abnormalities with no accompanied pain.
I want to reiterate that.
Yeah.
Like, almost all of us with no back pain are wandering around with slipped and bulging discs, and we don't know it. You want to know why we don't know it? We don't have pain, so we've never gotten our back scanned.
Yes.
However, if you have chronic back pain and you go to get your back scanned and they find a bulging disc, guess what you will be told is causing your pain?
They think they have a smoking gun, but you can't have a smoking gun if 90% of us have the same smoking gun.
But then that's why when they do those full body scans, like
Right.
what's it called?
Pronuvo
Yes.
is the brand of one I got.
That's tricky to do
Yeah.
because it will tell you, oh, you have a bulging disc here,
Yeah.
and then you might be like, oh, fuck, and then your
Don't
brain
ever
will
do that. Have you done that? Please don't do
He
that.
did
Hold
it.
on, I did.
I don't want her to do it.
No, you'll be my third argument
do
I
it.
have in about this. I want to hit the second one, though.
Yeah.
So there was another study, too. 1,200 healthy subjects who had no pain. Nearly 90% of them had bulging discs. So less than 5%, this is enormous, less than 5% of back pain is from structural issues.
Right.
And that is not unique to back pain. Those
No.
are similar results when you study the hip, the pelvis, the jaw, the uterus, the wrist, the knee, and neck pain.
I went so far down that rabbit hole. There are study after study after study showing that pain and damage, like the things we find on scans, that's what we're blaming pain on. But there seems to be very little relationship between the abnormalities found on scans and chronic pain.
It's the ultimate correlation, not causation.
Yes.
Yeah.
But are people listening gonna be like, oh, okay, well, when I have chronic back pain, I'm not going to go get it. Like, that's the thing, because of this thing we're sold, which is that pain and damage are the same, it's a really, really hard relationship to break. So I'm going to tell you a quick story. So 30 years ago, there was a little kid growing up in Jamaica, and he loved to run. He was really fast. And as he grew, something strange was happening to his spine. It started twisting into an S shape. And he was diagnosed with scoliosis. But it didn't stop him. He didn't get surgery. He wasn't in terrible pain. He kept running. He was faster and faster and faster until he was fast enough to qualify for the Olympics. And by the time he qualified for the Olympics, his body was so twisted, his spine was so abnormal, and his body was so asymmetrical that his right leg was, I believe, half an inch shorter than his left.
And his left leg could only put down 14% as much power as the right leg.
He won not one Olympic gold medal, but 8 of them. Do you want to guess the name of this gentleman who has extremely severe scoliosis but has never been treated for it and has very little pain?
Usain Bolt. And still holds the world record in the 100,
the
the 200, and the 4x100.
Man alive.
Usain Bolt is the fastest man alive. You should see this man's spine. It is absolutely
really? It's
a bowl of
gnarly.
spaghetti.
It's gnarly. And so if the lie was true, that damage and pain are the same, that gentleman should be relegated to a hospital bed. He should not be the fastest man alive. And in fact, we are often told that asymmetry is the cause of our pain.
Yeah.
I will
Chiropractors
say
like that.
again, he's so asymmetrical that his right leg is half an inch shorter than his left.
Yeah.
And he has yet
He's
to have
literally
surgery.
running. You would think that would affect a run.
Well, check this out.
He's running like lightning.
The scientists who study his biomechanics have discovered or believe that it is his very asymmetry that helps him go faster.
Oh, guys, listeners, do not chop off some of your leg just to be faster.
Yeah, it's not going to
Just
make
wanna
you
go ahead
Usain
and
Bolt.
say that.
Now, here's where we get to my own personal story, which is I did the Pronovo scan.
Yeah.
And I'm going through the different categories. They do heart, they do lungs, all this stuff. And I get to skeletal system and I have abnormalities. I'm like, oh, what's this? And yeah, I have significant scoliosis.
Oh, yeah.
At the top of my back, my spine curves to the right pretty dramatically. And I went, oh my God, all the times my mom was yelling at me, like, bring your left shoulder. You always drop your left shoulder in photos. And we had no explanation other than it was my laziness, I guess. And come to find out, oh yeah, I've had scoliosis significantly. It's visible in photographs now that I have seen the X-ray. But yeah, I have zero issues up there. I've had lower back pain, but nothing where the scoliosis is at all. No issues.
Wild.
And the same thing, I'm like, oh yeah, if I were in pain and I went and got the X-ray, it would be definitive.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think this is the complexity of it is, yes, biological factors matter.
Yeah.
Like, yes, of course you can have pain with scoliosis. It's just not the only factor that matters. Like biopsychosocial, it means biological factors matter. Cognitive and emotional factors matter. Social and environmental factors matter too. And together, those create the pain we feel.
Does it work the opposite way, though? So often do people go and they're like, oh, wow, oh, my God, I have scoliosis. Yeah, my back. Then does the brain start then sending the signal because you're aware now of it?
There's a story in the book called How Cancer Cured a Kidney Stone. Should I say that I wrote a book? I wrote a book. It's called Tell Me Where It Hurts. That's why I'm here. It's called Tell Me Where It Hurts. I took sort of like the most fascinating patient stories and put them in because pain is gnarly and it generates these incredible and counterintuitive stories. So one of the stories I put in the book is called How Cancer Cured a Kidney Stone. So I had a patient who, had regular kidney stones and they appeared like clockwork. Like she would have a 6 out of 10 pain, abdominal pain. There would be a host of accompanying symptoms. And like the stone would pass within, I can't remember exactly. I think a max of like a couple of weeks. And then the pain would go away. She would be fine. So she was having like the normal constellation of symptoms. Her pain was a 6 out of 10. Her father had recently died of cancer. She was having a pain flare, and her husband said to her, "Are you still having pain? Like, it has been like 6 weeks. Are you sure this is a kidney stone and not something else?" And she immediately thought to herself, shit, I have cancer too.
Right.
I think we all think we have cancer at least once a week.
I
if you're a
totally,
normal, healthy human being.
Thank you for that validation.
Yeah.
And I think her dad had died of maybe abdominal cancer, something like this. So she, the knocking on the wood. I understand.
I didn't want you to see it. But
Sorry, I won't call it out next time. You should do it.
Wood on your
I did
chair.
it on my handle.
Oh, okay.
I did it small, but
I won't
still
call it
got
out. Sorry, I can't help it. I observe behavior all day. So she had the thought, maybe this is cancer pain, and she shared that with her husband. They both freaked out. Her pain went to an 11 out of 10, her report. She fell to the floor screaming.
Oh, my God.
Her husband called 911. She got rushed to the emergency room. 11 out of 10 pain, screaming. They did a scan. They found the kidney stone. Her pain went back down.
Oh, my God.
To like don't remember the number, 3 out of 10.
Yeah.
And she went home and the kidney stone passed.
Yeah.
So like images.
Tricky game.
Images, I want to say again, pain is the brain's danger alarm. It's subjective. It thrives on data. Any data we give the brain that amplifies danger will amplify pain. Data we give the brain that makes us feel safe will lower the brain's danger alarm. So that story to me was so revealing. Like the things we think, the images our brains feed us, the images we get from our doctors, they are going to affect the brain's pain alarm. And of course they should. Like it is adaptive and evolutionary for our brain to use all available information. Why should we only use data from the body part? We should use all available data, right?
Now let's explore these 3 pillars that attribute to our experience of pain.
Yes.
So the first one's biometric. We understand that one. I think we all understand your bone's broken. You have
the biological
the flu.
domain. Yes.
Yes. So let's talk about the psychological.
Yeah.
And how it impacts.
Can I add to the biodomain of pain?
Yeah.
Okay. So like you said, it's the obvious stuff. It's like tissue damage, system dysfunction, genetics, like Sam's family history of migraine. It's also diet, sleep, and exercise. And I like putting them there because those are biological imperatives. The reason I'm going to go into this is because what I want everyone listening to remember is that you have so much more control and agency over pain in your body than anyone has ever told you. Like if sleep and diet and exercise affect your body, you maybe can't change your genetics. You can change your sleep. You can change your nutrition protocol. you can change your sleep hygiene. So like I'm always sort of keeping in mind, like pain is terrifying, it's overwhelming, it feels unmanageable and uncurable. So like if I can help people feel like, oh, there's actually 72 things I can do maybe starting today, then like if I can seed some hope, I have done my job. So that's the biodomain.
That's the biodomain. And let's talk about psychology now.
Yeah. So I want you to imagine that there's a Venn diagram with 3 overlapping circles. And I should have said this at the very beginning.
Okay.
Of course, the first circle is the bio circle, the one we just talked about. Then we've got the psych circle, psychological factors, and the social or the sociological domain of pain. So pain lives in the middle of these 3 circles in our Venn diagram. Okay. So you asked about bio, covered. In the psych domain of pain, you know, this domain of pain is so full of stigma and misunderstanding. So I really just like front load with just the science. So in the psych domain of pain, we have emotions. We said at the beginning, the limbic system, our amygdala, the parts of our brain that make emotions also make physical pain. So our bodies hurt more during times of stress and duress. We know that's true. Anxiety and depression will amplify the brain's pain alarm. There's like 4,000 papers on that.
Yeah.
So our emotional health affects our physical health.
And we're in a broken paradigm, which is it's either physical or mental. So if it's physical, go see a doctor. If it's mental, go see a psychologist.
Yes.
And that's not a real distinction.
I feel so much gratitude. Like this is the line that I go around repeating. Like in Western medicine, we're told either your pain is physical and you need to see a physician, or your pain's emotional, you should go see a psychotherapist. But pain is both physical and emotional 100% of the time. You can't separate them out.
Yeah.
Like that's just not how the brain works.
Right.
So like when we're treating pain, chronic pain, I actually want us to be thinking about our emotional health. And I am not saying it's all in your head. I am not saying it's all psychological. You just can't deny that the brain is connected to the body. Yeah, it's part of the recipe.
I want to talk about some of the specific things within the psychology domain, which would be thoughts, attention, distraction, and emotion. So we said emotions, but let's talk about thoughts, attention, and distraction.
Yes. So, you know, we tend to think that thoughts are just these like air bubbles that appear in our head, you know, in the space between our ears. But thoughts trigger a neurobiological cascade of events in the human body. Like right now, I want you to think about your to-do list. All the things you have to do and haven't gotten done. Maybe your taxes. That's true for me. How does your body feel? Like when we think stressful thoughts, our body has a physiological response. Our muscles get tense. We bump cortisol and other stress hormones.
Heart rate goes up.
Inflammation
goes up.
So like thoughts don't just live in your head. Thoughts affect your body 100% of the time. And then we have in there also, like you said, attention. That's a cognitive factor. So what we know about pain is that when we think about pain and talk about pain and focus on pain, what happens to the brain's danger alarm? It magnifies the pain response. And of course, the opposite's also true. So like if you have to give a kid a shot, for example, you shove a screen in front of their face and they will be distracted and laughing and they will not cry and they will not scream. And like we all know this even as grown-ups. Like if you've ever been so absorbed in some pleasurable activity that you didn't notice your pain or you briefly forgot about your pain, which happens to everyone, that's not magic. That's just your brain's danger alarm, right? So attention changes pain too.
Yeah, maybe even think about why opiates work.
Oh, dude.
As I was reading all this, because I have a very well-known issue with opiates at one point. And they certainly cure the physical pain, but I think for me, they're only curing the physical pain because they distract me from the mental pain.
By the way, that is a known thing.
Yeah, it's like it's not sending anything that's making the inflammation go away like NSAID would or something.
That's right.
Right?
That's right. It's binding to the opioid receptors, and you have a disproportionate amount in your brain's emotion centers. And opioids medicate not just physical pain, but emotional pain. And that's why they're so dangerous. And that's why they're so addictive.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Like you think they're addressing this physical pain. For me, they're not. They're affecting the angst and discomfort of my emotional life. Yeah. They're muting everything.
By the way, what are we doing to people in pain? Like, especially people with a history of addiction.
I know.
It's like handing people a loaded gun when they already have a genetic loaded gun. To me, it feels unfair and unsafe, and I hope we'll talk about that.
Yeah. I was curious in this psychological pillar.
Yeah.
I often think of identity as having a lot to do with this. So my identity is that I'm indomitable.
Oh my God, my brain's exploding.
I have reasons why I've made that my identity. I believe if I appear to be indomitable, you will not try to take advantage of me. And so in order to service this identity I have, Monica will tell you, that's why I had no business on opiates. My shoulder's in 4 pieces. I got to wait a week to get the surgery because I'm still filming, and I go film an episode in a sling racing a rally car with one hand and jumping. And I can do that. I don't know why I can do that. I don't have an explanation. I don't think I was born with that thing where I don't feel pain, but it's not on the table for me to be outwardly vulnerable. And so I do think I've willed my way out. I've been yelled at by my wife for carrying things while I just had surgery, right? And I'm like, I can still fucking carry it. The notion that I can't carry it is the most painful thing. The pain's not the painful thing. And so I just feel like I have really reformatted my relationship with pain. And my only explanation is that it's this identity thing, that I will not threaten my identity by experiencing this pain. Or if I get tattoos, I don't give a fuck. Like other people, I don't care. So what do we think about our identity, and how can that play a role in there?
Exploding. I feel like every once in a while someone brings an ingredient to me that I haven't thought about before. So the way I frame this is like a pain recipe. Like there's a recipe for brownies. There's always a recipe for pain.
Yeah.
And there's like biological ingredients in there. There's psychological ingredients. There's sociological ingredients. And I feel like I spend a lot of time with each one of my patients, like mapping out the ingredients. Like, what are the things in this recipe of yours that's amplifying your pain? And what can I do to help change those ingredients to help you lower pain volume?
Yeah.
And one that I have absolutely, till this moment, never thought of is identity.
Anecdotally, it's so present in my best friend from childhood, Aaron Weekly, who also grew up around a lot of violence, and being vulnerable was not an option. I see it in my sister and my brother. Like, my mother has it. Like, we don't give a fuck about that.
Yeah.
And then somehow some magic happens where I'm not experiencing it.
Yeah.
So I think I'm lying to myself or fighting it. It's like, I don't care. It didn't, whatever.
I mean, I don't think you're lying to yourself. I think it's adaptive for you in some way. It's like a survival tool for you. I don't know you well enough to know why, but it has been adaptive for you throughout your life, and that's why you've been using it. And that's not a flaw. That's not a character flaw. It has helped you get where you are.
Right. I think it's fascinating.
It is fascinating.
It has a tail to the head of that coin. It does go somewhere. It goes into emotional distress that then needs medication. Whatever that medication is, whether it be drugs or whatever it is.
Or adrenaline.
It's not just like it's magically, I don't have pain. It's that it gets funneled into somewhere else where people don't see it necessarily.
Yeah, it has pros and cons.
And then that's not good either.
Yeah.
I hear you.
Okay, so let's talk about sociological, because I think you probably have a lot of interesting statistics, and I'm sure things are differ in these different categories of sex, gender, race, ethnicity, socioeconomic status. How are these factors evident in people's experience with pain?
Yeah, so when I was first studying pain as this little library mouse, not church mouse at Brown, with this pain neuroscientist, I was like, pain's biological, feels pretty intuitive that there's an emotional component. But what is this social shit? Like, pain is social? What does that even mean? So I really went down that rabbit hole, and I wanted to examine that. So I'm going to give a couple of examples, and I hope they're resonant, and you can ask me questions about it. So among the worst punishments you can give a human being is solitary confinement. What does it say about human beings that one of the worst things you can do to us is isolate us from others? So being social is biologically adaptive. It helps us survive. It's so fundamental to our very survival that our brains evolved a mechanism to reward us for engaging in it. When we are social, our brains bump out serotonin, which bumps our mood, dopamine, pleasure and reward and motivation, and endorphins, our endogenous homemade painkillers. When we are with other people, pain volume goes down. The opposite is also true. When we are isolated and lonely and alone, especially in solitary confinement, all of those good chemicals crash. And we feel terrible, not just physically, not just emotionally, but both.
Yeah.
Because it's connected.
This made me think of the weirdest thing while I was reading about this was When I worked for my mom, and I worked with all of my friends in my early 20s, and we would drink way, way too much on work nights. And we'd stay up till 3 a.m. and we'd be out in the parking lot at 6 a.m. to fucking wash cars. But because all 8 of us were hungover, there was some bizarre joy in sharing that state. And I think people can relate to this on vacation with friends. When you're with a group of people and everyone's hungover versus you're by yourself in your apartment dealing with a hangover, those are totally different experiences, aren't they, Monica?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I think so.
Like, I never cared about a hangover when I was with my friends. And when I was a solitary drinker, they were insufferable.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
And there's this old saying that, like, when you share your joy, you double it. When you share your pain, you cut it in half. And that is definitely true for me. Like, if I'm suffering, you know, my friends will tell you, I will burden them. I will tell them and for them, they seem to be able to carry it just fine. Like, you can tell me your stuff all day, I'll be fine. You know, like, I can carry anyone's stuff. When I share my stuff, it definitely reduces my pain.
Yeah.
You know, so that's one example of how pain is social.
So when people are isolated in their pain, obviously that's going to make it go up exponentially. It's going to feed that.
Right. So that was another data point that was so fascinating to me. So, like, former U.S. Surgeon General Vivek Murthy.
Yes, we love him. We've had him on.
Yeah, he's all about ending loneliness.
Yeah. He did that amazing study, like hundreds of thousands of people, where he showed, and by the way, he wasn't the first to show this, but he gathered all the scientific data to show that when we are lonely and isolated and alone, it actually is a predictor of a whole host of chronic illnesses and also chronic pain.
Yeah.
That are worse outcomes than smoking a pack a day.
Totally.
Which is the craziest comp.
Right.
Like, we all know how bad smoking a pack a day is, but being alone is worse.
Being alone is worse, and not just emotionally, just to, like, make that clear. Yeah. Loneliness is bad for our physical health. It is a predictor of disease and pain.
Yeah, that's so wild.
I know. So, like, all of these data points to me, I was like, oh, yeah, pain is social. Social medicine is real, but that's not being prescribed. And most of us roll our eyes. Like, yeah, I have chronic pain, blah, blah, blah. Like, don't tell me I need to just hang out with more friends. And I want to say clearly, it's not that simple, you know?
Yeah, it's one of the things,
it's one of the ingredients.
Of the levers you can pull.
It's one of the ingredients in the recipe.
Stay tuned for more Armchair Expert, if you dare.
We should probably be done with timeouts, right? For kids.
Yeah, there are a lot of psychologists who are anti-timeout.
For that
Although
reason.
there is a version of it, which is, it is our baked-in learning mechanism. Because we're a social primate, a timate, being excluded from the group is insanely powerful.
Yeah.
So is there a version of it that is...
not too terrible, right?
Yeah,
is
like,
it time
it's all
limited?
about degrees of it, I think.
Yeah.
But yes, in general, when your kid is dysregulated and you send them away to deal with their dysregulation by themselves, maybe not a great idea, right?
Yeah, it's just like not going to work, really.
Yeah, and the goals should be probably to first regulate, then teach the lesson. I think that's also a good order of events. So I wasn't a big timeout person, but there were a couple of occasions where it felt appropriate.
Totally.
What do we see with pain? Is it applies to gender? How does it differ with socioeconomics? I mean, I have my guesses, but what do we know about
and redheads?
That's physiological, though.
What is that?
I had to look that up. Someone asked me that on a previous podcast. I was on this podcast called Ologies, which is a science podcast, and she has red hair. And she was like, is that true? So apparently there is some data to suggest that redheads do experience more pain. It's still very new science, and I would not say it's definitive, but there is some research suggesting that it is tied to, like, our sensitivity, this is the most fascinating thing. So all of us, as part of our recipe, have, like, pain thresholds, and some people, and this may be true for you, have higher pain thresholds than other people. And like everything else to do with humans, it is on a spectrum.
Yeah.
Some of us are very sensitive. Mm-hmm. And some of us are less sensitive. And
don't look at me like that. I can handle a good amount of pain.
Well, it's very, very clear to me. Yeah. If you choose it, you can endure a ton.
Yes.
So your role as a cheerleader, you endured pain that you wouldn't otherwise be able to endure because you wanted to be a cheerleader. But you also cut your finger, and it is a very, very big deal.
Well, Hold on.
Both things are true.
It isn't
I opened a can of worms.
You did. Listen, it's not the finger cutting is not a big deal because it hurts. It's a big deal because I'm
Alone.
that's a huge part of it.
Yeah.
That's why I'm calling people and sending pictures like, how is this okay? And as soon as they're like, oh no, even if whatever they say, the connection with another person is helpful.
You're
So,
saying
yes.
that loneliness amplifies the pain alarm and social support lowers the
100%.
pain alarm.
And it's like, oh, what if I bleed out? It's
Right.
It's about that. It's not it doesn't hurt.
You just proved the point. You literally
Yeah.
just proved the point. When we are alone, we feel like this is just biological. We're more at risk of death because we don't
We're
have
vulnerable.
people. We're more vulnerable. That's the word.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm
And the second
very
you have social support, I love that example.
I
thought
wonder
that
if
was
your
beautiful.
proximity to us is going to lower or up your pain threshold because you're now across the street.
Well,
so,
I have
like,
a good
you
example. This isn't really pain, although sort of, I guess. But my parents were in town recently, and the alarm went off in the middle of the night.
Oh, so scary.
Which, yes,
Normal.
if I was by myself, oh my God, I would have been so panicked. Cut to a week later, my doorbell rang in the middle of the night. I was by myself, and I was like, "Oh, I'm dead! Like I'm dead. I don't know what to do. Do I call?" Like I didn't know. But when I was with my parents, I was just like, "It's fine."
Yeah.
And I had no idea. I had no idea what was going on. Someone
was
could have
going
literally
on?
been burgled.
A door blew open.
Yeah.
But she didn't even care.
I was
But
like,
if you're by yourself, it's definitely a guy with a huge knife entering in a
Exactly.
ski mask.
I
yeah.
It's
assumed
Scream
it was
1 through
something
4.
fine when there were people around, and I assumed it was
Isn't
something
that
bad
amazing?
when I was by myself.
I know,
It's
but we
crazy.
forget that. We just forget about how that affects our bodies.
Yeah.
We just forget.
This is like
Yeah.
one of the many ingredients in these why married people live longer. Like this is
Yeah.
one component of
Yeah.
it. You're not
Yeah.
having the cortisol dump. Like
That's right.
it's
Yeah.
easier on your body.
Yes.
Yeah. But did we interrupt? You were mid.
I don't
thought?
remember. I
That's okay.
actually have no idea, and I don't care.
I
'cause
keep
this is so much
asking
fun and so interesting.
how sex and race and socioeconomic. I'm curious how those.
yeah. Oh,
'Cause
yeah.
We've got loneliness covered.
Yeah, so there's like a lot of data on socioeconomic status and gender and race and ethnicity. So something that comes to mind is like a disproportionate number of people living with chronic pain are women. However, this one really got me. 80% of pain research has been conducted on men and male mice. There's also been a lot of pervasive racism in medicine. Like, this is well known. This is not my opinion. This is just what the research says. And like, in general, over the years, there has been this myth, and there's a name for it. I'm forgetting the name of it. It's like the hero myth or something. It's like that, Black people feel less pain than whites because they have thicker skin.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's like a holdover from the slave trade.
Yes.
And so, like, in general,
Justifying.
Blacks are prescribed something like 50% less pain medications in the emergency room. And like,
And the
it's still
women
happening.
believe the least amount about
Yeah,
their pain
no one
assessment.
believes
Black
women.
women, if they tell you it's an 8, the person immediately cuts that in half.
Totally. And
Yeah.
right. And that leads to this other thing that happens with women and minorities is like not being believed, or the suggestion that you're histrionic. Like that word has somehow just found its way into modern medicine, or it's psychosomatic. So that's
But
still
let me
happening.
ask you this:
Yeah.
if we're going to try to punch from every angle
Yeah,
at the
yeah.
risk of offending someone. Is it not conceivable that women in general are more vulnerable physically? You're going to die by the hands of a man more than I'm going to, unless I go to war. So there's an objective threat because of the sexual dimorphism, that feeling vulnerable, that you get in an elevator with a guy that's 6'2", you have a different experience than when I get in an elevator,
Yeah,
right?
sure.
So the feeling of vulnerability, if we're acknowledging that that's part of pain, couldn't that be in the recipe?
It sure could, but there isn't data to suggest in general that women are more sensitive to pain than men at a biological genetic
Oh, I don't think they are at all. They're giving birth. I would argue
Yeah,
they have a higher
exactly.
threshold.
Yeah, much
threshold.
higher.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
So that's what makes it so complicated, is like, because there's all these ingredients and they're always interacting. Is it cultural? Is it sociological? Is it learned? Is it biological? Like, what is the recipe that's creating this thing?
And then are poor people experiencing more or less pain?
Yeah, also. So like, access to care is in this recipe too. Like, can we talk about insurance companies? Like,
Sure.
so many of the treatments we're talking about aren't affordable. So like
Yeah.
you can have 42 surgeries and take 72 medications, but like if you want to come see me, it's not reimbursed by insurance companies. It's really crazy. So like access to care, being able to afford treatment, access to healthy foods, you know, there's a lot that's, you know, stacking up against people who are economically disadvantaged. And so of course that affects their pain too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so all right, we have a sense of all the things now that are contributing to this, again, phenomenological experience of pain.
Yes.
But you don't stop there, luckily. The last third of the book, Tell Me Where It Hurts, is dedicated to addressing these things.
Yes.
Again, other than the three you mentioned in the bio under that umbrella,
Yeah.
not a lot you're going to do about your genetics or
No.
your tendon strength.
No.
But there's a ton of stuff that you can do in the pain protocol. So how do you identify and track your pain recipe?
Yes, part 3 is a pain protocol. And
Yeah.
my mission in life is not only to change the way we talk about pain and the way we understand it, but also the way we treat it. Because we are completely effing people living with chronic pain by telling them that the only solution is a pill or a procedure. So if you came to my office, part 3 is the pain protocol, and it's exactly what I would do with you. And you'll see in the pain protocol that we walk through, like, what are the things in the biodomain of pain that you have the power to change? And what are the strategies and tools that I can offer you to help walk you through that in a very approachable, digestible, not overwhelming way? Because it can feel so overwhelming.
So like a quick part of a lot of people's pain recipe will be
Yeah.
like, the pain starts when I've been sitting for a while.
Totally.
Right? Like, so what are some common examples of people that
Yeah.
the routine that is in their pain recipe?
Yeah. So like I'll say my pain recipe. My pain recipe is like sitting for too many hours staring at my screens, not getting up and stretching and moving my body, not drinking water and just like being extremely dehydrated, eating a crap diet,
Sure.
you know, like when I'm hungry, eating chips or something instead of like poor sleep. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you very much as I talk about my pain recipe.
Do you have chronic back pain?
I don't, thank
Okay.
God, but like I'm aging and so like my body.
It hurts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So crap diet, sitting too long, not moving my body, poor sleep. Like I am someone who has insomnia on and off. So like if I have a bad night of sleep, my body will hurt more. Not protecting time to exercise. Like I don't exercise to lose weight. Like I exercise because if I don't, my body feels terrible. My mood is shit.
Yeah.
So like those things for me are sort of like fundamental to, and stress. Stress is so fundamental to my pain recipe. Like if I have too many things to do, which is all the time, and I'm not protecting that and I'm not like managing my stress well and I'm doom scrolling at night or watching the news.
Yeah.
So
not
all those
good.
things together will come together for me and create a high pain recipe.
Yeah, you got to be aware of what your self-medication is, because it's often a part of why you're suffering.
Right. You mean like scrolling is like,
Yeah, we all have a lot of ways to
Distraction.
regulate ourselves, and many of them make us worse. In the same way that drugs do.
Yes.
It's like they temporarily relieve your discomfort,
Absolutely.
but at a much bigger cost.
like I'm a
downriver.
workaholic. That's one of my,
And that's a distraction, and distraction is a good tool.
but when you overwork,
To a
you're
level.
overstressed,
Yes.
you're sitting too long, your body feels worse. But so just as there's a recipe for high pain, there is always a recipe for low pain. And like this high pain recipe I just outlined, the cool thing is that it has an opposite. So like I know poor sleep is going to mess up my body, make my pain feel worse. So I know I have to put myself on a sleep hygiene protocol. I have been doing this for like 25 years now. My sleep hygiene protocol is like dimming my lights a couple hours before bed, not doom scrolling. Sometimes that means I have to put my phone in another room and I will do it because insomnia messes me up. You know, it means like getting out of bed after about 20 minutes if I'm not sleeping so that I'm not lying in bed being like, why aren't I sleeping? This is so annoying. And then stress goes up, anxiety goes up, likelihood of sleeping goes down. So I know what my high pain recipe is, I know what my low pain recipe is, and I know how to get there. And that's actually what part 3 is.
So sleep, nutrition, movement, activity, functioning. How about strategies targeting emotional health?
Yeah.
Including brain-based treatments known to adjust pain volume.
So can I ask, what are things that you guys do for emotional health that's helpful?
Exercise.
I have a
definitely.
bonkers. I'm like the most creature of habity, or what. I have such a routine every single
Routine.
day, and mine
Great,
is like
great.
exercise is number one.
Yep.
Meditation's very important. Journaling's very important. My
Yeah.
diet's very important. Sauna's very important. It's embarrassing how much time I put in to prevent me from either being in pain or embarrassing in that I can't believe it takes this much shit. But I don't care because I am not in
It's
pain.
admirable.
I've had a bunch of motorcycle accidents. I
Yeah.
work out like crazy, and
Yeah.
I am not in pain. And I am generally very stable emotionally and mentally.
Good.
And these are, I know, because I've lived without these routines, and I've lived in flaring my arthritis with the foods I'm allergic to. And I've done all the things that were miserable. And now I am just very, very regimented about
Bless.
my schedule.
Great. So you have figured out your low pain recipe.
Other than I can't hack sleep, but whatever. I also know there's going to be some categories that suck.
Sure.
I have
Also.
I have forgiveness for myself.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
Good. So you're taking care of your emotional health, and by the way, also your physical health with that routine. So that seems. Can I ask you too? You don't have to answer.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Okay.
I think for me, the main thing is being social. I like really make time for
Yeah.
that. I try to do that daily, like
Yeah.
hang out after work with people. There was one period of time where two of my friends who I hang out with a ton were both gone. And I was like, I am gonna die. I'm gonna die.
Yeah.
And
Wither.
I don't know what to do. Like I need these people.
Social medicine is real.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I think that's probably what I mean, obviously if I exercise, I feel better. I'm not as regimented as
That's
Dax
okay. It's
at
okay.
it. But if I'm
I'm
in
also 12 years
if
older
I'm in a
than
good
you.
routine, I used to exercise all the time. So if I'm in a good routine, yes. But I think the social medicine is a huge one.
Yeah.
I want to add, like, I don't want to pat myself on the back. You do what you have to do.
Yeah.
Right? Like you're humming along. Again, you're 12 years younger than me. I do what I have to do to not be miserable.
Yeah.
And if I got to do less and not be miserable, I would do it. I had to go to AA because I was going to die. I didn't go because I wanted to go. Like I
Yeah.
also think you can look at someone else's routine and feel some kind of shame that you're not executing all this stuff. But you should only be doing what you have to do. This is what
Sure.
I have to do.
That's true. Like there are moments where I'm like, I have to go on a walk. Like my body and brain know.
Are telling
so then
you.
exactly. And then but I just don't maybe need to do it on the same frequency or I don't know, whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Beautifully
mainly
said.
that.
Fanatical.
Yeah.
schedule,
Well,
yeah.
no, I didn't say that.
You found your low pain recipe, and I think it's really
That's good.
amazing. And you guys listed all the things that I would put, like taking care of emotional health, other than when I think of emotional health support, I actually think it's great to talk to someone. And there's so much stigma around that still. It's like 20,000, and here we are, and we're still talking about like, it's so shameful to have to see a therapist. So like, I want to see if I can frame this differently.
Sorry, I can't
Yeah.
believe I didn't say that. I can't believe I didn't
Yeah,
start with
therapy.
that. I'm in therapy.
Yeah.
And it's everything. I mean, it's everything.
Yeah. And like, it's hard to find someone who's available at the times you want, who's qualified, who you like and trust and want to talk to. So I'm not saying it's easy, but research shows it can be extremely, extremely helpful. And like, just as we go to the gym all the time to exercise our bodies and make our bodies stronger, why would we not engage in some form of brain exercise for our emotional health? Like for me, that's what I think. When I think of therapy, that's what I think of. Like we're going to a trained professional who's helping us with our emotional health, with our history of trauma, with our like fucked up relationships with our families. Doesn't everybody need that just as much as we need to go on a jog? Like, how much better a place would the world be if we were all engaging in as much brain exercise as body exercise? So I think about that also.
Yeah, I think my reservation there a little bit is I am always conscious, I think, because of where I came from, with how lofty a lot of these are. If you have two jobs and you have two kids and you're a single parent, I don't have the money for therapy. Very good. I agreed. And I don't have the free time to exercise like you're saying. And these are all real pressures. But even to that, I would argue like AA is free. There's a lot of different groups that are free. You can actually engage in
After work.
group therapy
Yeah.
in a lot of ways for free.
Yeah.
I would also argue that to prioritize 20 minutes of movement in the day,
You could go for 5,
You'd
by the
be
way.
shocked.
Yeah.
You'd really be shocked
Yeah.
how much time that buys you the rest of it, because you're no longer in that destructive cycle. You're in the virtuous cycle. So you
Yeah.
might be shocked with how taking more time for that thing
Yeah.
ends up adding time.
I
is
think
my
it's a fair and
argument.
a good point. And
Yeah.
the affordability piece is a really huge one. And I think there are a lot of resources out there. There are even workbooks that can help with certain things like depression
That's
and
why I like
anxiety.
your book. Like someone can get your book and go through this.
I feel like the purpose of writing the book was sort of like to put the power into hands of anybody who wants to understand it and treat it. That actually was the point.
You have techniques for modifying negative thoughts.
True story.
That's great. Social medicine, we just talked about that. Some things that could help that will weirdly downriver affect pain is like better boundaries, creating healthy social connections, healing trauma. These things all may impact your experience with pain.
Yep.
My other curiosity was, again, I brought up AA. AA has abysmal success numbers.
Is that true?
Oh, yeah. It's in the like 30%.
Wait, really?
But
I did not know that.
relative to the other treatments, it's an absolute miracle. Right? So if you can look at it one of two ways. If
Yeah.
you want to just go like, well, only 30% of people who go there end
Yeah.
up getting sobriety, long-term sobriety. Sure. But versus the alternative is like single digit. People don't just quit. I mean, very few people
Wow.
just white knuckle it for the rest of their lives. So I'm curious. We know how abysmal the outcome of chronic pain treatment is with doctors. It's in the low, it's under 50%. What kind of success would you say you were experiencing with
This
this
is
more
going to make me
holistic?
sound like a jerk.
Okay.
It's,
Like a brat.
it's going to make me sound.
Okay, let's hear it. Let's be a
Here's
brat.
why I'm sitting here on your couch despite performance and public speaking anxiety.
Yeah.
My patients get better. They get out of bed and they go back to life. I am not saying that their pain disappears completely all of the time. That would make me a liar. Sam continued to have pain flares, but he knew what to do. They didn't paralyze him and they didn't keep him bedridden. He knew what to do. If he needed to rest, he would rest. But, he wasn't on the white food diet. He wasn't socially isolating. He wasn't not moving his body. The treatment for chronic pain is known. There is always hope for treating chronic pain. It just isn't told to our doctors. It's not told to us. The treatment for chronic pain is identifying your pain recipe with all of the ingredients and mapping them out, hopefully with someone else. But you can also do it on your own. And then figuring out what you need to do to change the ingredients in your pain recipe. There is always hope for treating chronic pain. And it makes me crazy because if you Google the treatment for fibromyalgia, it will tell you there is none. I can't tell you how many of my patients were told that there's just no treatment for their pain. They've been through all the medications. In fact, in medicine, if you've had 4 back surgeries and you still have back pain, you will get diagnosed, check me, with failed back surgery syndrome.
Oh, God.
As if you failed the treatment instead of the other way around,
Yeah.
So there is always a treatment for chronic pain. The treatment exists. It's looking at the recipe and figuring out what we can do to lower pain volume. And there's a million things we can do. There are a million things we can do.
The great challenge to me still seems like asking patients for behavioral modifications versus pills or procedures is a tall order. Getting people to change their behavior
Tell
is
me about it.
really, really hard.
Tell me about it. I agree with you.
Yeah.
So I would say it's a combination of things. I am not telling people to go off their pills. Absolutely not. Pain medications are a godsend. Pain medications are a godsend. We're no longer biting on wooden spoons. Thank God for good drugs.
Yeah. Think of Ulysses S. Grant dying of throat cancer for months. What was that experience like?
I can't even imagine. No,
crazy.
and I want to say also that opioids are appropriate for
Yeah.
post-surgical pain and acute end of life care and cancer pain. But I just feel like we are screwing people. Can I ask a question?
Oh, yeah, you can ask.
Did it start with an injury?
Yeah. So I had been 8 years sober when I had a motorcycle accident. I was prescribed. I asked my sponsor, am I allowed to take this?
Oh, boy.
I took it. It was completely fine.
Yeah.
Very misleading. I filed it as a mental note. I'm like, oh, that's weird. That was a drug that I was fine. I didn't
I remember you
I
saying
didn't take
that.
them all.
I listened to,
just
like,
still
yeah.
did my shit. So that was a very bad data point. And then over the years, I had more injuries. And then what really set it off to the races was, I had back-to-back hand shoulder surgery.
Oh, yeah.
And this bullish, arrogant view that this was a drug that didn't seem to affect me in the way that cocaine or alcohol did, and that this was kind of a manageable thing. And then, I was off to the races.
Yeah.
But I mean, I want to take 90% of the responsibility for it. I also was open to the idea that there was still something I could do that wasn't the other things I had admitted I couldn't do.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Would it be fair for me to say, like, I don't prescribe, but I observe
Yeah.
and I see patients with pain all day. It makes me angry that this is what we're doing to people who have a history of addiction. So my question for you is, do you feel like it's inappropriate for me to say, like, maybe we can recommend different pain medications for people with a history of addiction than opioids? Like, do I have a leg to stand on, or do you feel like not?
It's really, really tricky because I'll give you an example. Like, what screamed bullshit to me about the James Fry book, which I loved, was he did not have all that dental work without anesthetic.
Yeah.
It didn't happen.
I remember that.
That doesn't happen. No one does that.
Yeah.
No one should be expected to do that. Addicts shouldn't be expected to do that. I don't love putting the responsibility on the doctors, if I'm being honest. But I'm in an addict community. Like, the responsibility is mine to say to the doctor, hey, I'm an addict, and the pills should go to my wife, or the pills should. This happens in the program all the time. People are responsible for other people's pills. As long as you take it as prescribed and as you're supposed to, you're fine. And so that's on me going in to go, like, I shouldn't ever be holding the pills. I shouldn't, everyone there needs to know if there's some range of how long someone should be on these pills. I should be on the shorter end of these pills. But I don't think it's fair for the surgeon to take on and understand your level of addiction. My dad died 28 years sober. He had many different bouts of being on opiates. It never got him. There wasn't a thing for him. They were in his house. He didn't care. He self-administered. He never abused them. I don't know why. That's what version of addict he was. And then I was this version. So I think it's too much to ask the person that's supposed to be really great at reassembling your bones to also be somehow an addiction specialist who can evaluate who. I think that's on us addicts, to be honest.
I totally disagree.
I want to hear your opinion.
Well, for one, we know that the doctors were part of the whole opioid issue epidemic to begin with. So they do have a responsibility, in my opinion. I think I agree with you that ultimately it's the addict's responsibility. But when you're in your addiction, like you're
that's the problem. As soon as I had the pills in me, the game plan went out the window.
Exactly. When you're sober, you can say, hey, so my wife needs the pills or blah, blah. If you're in your addiction, you're not doing the whole point is to get high. That's literally the point. So I do think doctors should have to ask before they prescribe, what's your history with addiction?
Yes.
Ask you straight up. They still might lie, but at least it's there. And if the answer is, oh, I have a history.
Yes.
Then I think they need to say, well, what's our plan then?
That's correct. I agree with you a million percent.
We're also in a different error we need to acknowledge, because I've had surgeries on all the errors, right? So when the Sacklers were running, I mean, they're if there is a true villain in it, it is the Sackler family, who had a very well-financed campaign to convince doctors who hadn't studied pain.
Less than 1% of it. Addiction.
So they don't know, and then they're seeing all this data that was bullshit data that the Sacklers had come up with.
Correct.
So again, I can't expect them to go specialize in pain medicine if they're a thoracic surgeon. They have to rely on studies and stuff. So they were the victims of a very good campaign by a very well-funded dark ass family. And so there was a period. I talk about this. Most of my friends are stuntmen. They all have crazy injuries. Most stuntmen have a kit of opiates at their disposal. That doesn't exist anymore. The damn shot. It's not what it was. So I also don't think we need to overreact to a situation that no longer exists to a large degree. Well, you're not walking in with a toothache and walking out with 2 weeks of Percocet anymore.
But I think a lot of that's in reaction. That's good.
Oh, yeah. But they've slammed the door on it. So I don't know that it's the same issue as it was 10 years ago, right?
I respect both of your positions. I find myself landing in the middle because I feel like as a provider, you bet your ass it's my responsibility to assess my patient. And I absolutely need to educate myself about my patient's history. That is my job. Like, my oath is to do no harm. Every doctor takes that oath.
Yeah.
And having studied pain for like 35 years, I am doing harm if I am prescribing opioids to someone with a history of addiction, because what happened to you could happen to anyone. It didn't happen to your dad, and bless, but like, why would I put you in that position?
Yeah.
Like, if I'm a good doctor, I am trained to ask that question. You don't have to be trained in addiction medicine to ask, do you have a
also
history of
might lie to you.
addiction?
I'm
And
gonna be
that's
honest,
on you.
That's on
And that
you.
part's on you, like you
Yeah.
said. That is
Yeah.
100% on you. That's
Yeah.
0% on me. But I did my job.
Yes,
Yeah.
I
exactly.
asked you,
Yeah.
do you have a history of addiction? Am I putting you in harm's way by giving you this particular medication?
Yeah.
Because as a doctor, a trained MD knows there are alternative painkillers
Yeah.
out there. It doesn't have to be the most addictive one.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
someone could have given you a friendlier, less dangerous drug
Yeah.
and could have saved you the fuckery that you found yourself in.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that have been nice for you? Just to say.
You're not
so
going to like this answer, but I mean, I had to go through that.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Look,
But that
like,
was a good,
you
that weirdly
had,
was.
you had an important life experience, and
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
not,
yeah,
and I
yeah,
am
yeah.
in no way like discounting it or minimizing it.
But had I
But also,
died, had I
about to say,
OD'd.
you came out on the other end. A lot of people
and
don't.
I didn't end up shooting dope downtown. A lot of people end up shooting dope downtown.
Yeah.
So, like, I think there's definitely the responsibility is on the patient to be honest, to disclose, and even to bring it up if you feel comfortable.
Yeah.
For people who don't feel comfortable, the onus is on the doctor. We as healthcare providers have to do our due diligence. We have to get to know our patients just a little bit. Can we do that? Like, if you're a healthcare provider and you're listening, spend 3 minutes. Like, I literally just did this. I put like a pain assessment on my website because I don't think we assess pain properly. And one of the questions we need to be asking, do you have a history of addiction? It's very simple. You don't have to be trained in addiction medicine. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to treat the person for addiction. Just ask.
Yeah, that's. I would expect that to. I would expect every doctor to ask that.
I feel so strongly about that, having
Yeah.
seen so many nightmares. I was really honored when you invited me on because I have listened to your episodes where you talk about opioids and pain, and I feel like, I teach the addiction medicine fellows at Stanford, like the next generation of MDs, because they don't learn very much about pain, and pain and addiction in America are best friends. Like our mutual friend Anna Lemke runs like a pain and addiction center.
Well, this is really great. It's in the book.
Yeah.
We are, I think, 4.5% of the world population, and this country consumes 80% of the opioids on planet
Yeah.
Earth.
Crazy. That is crazy.
I mean, that number's probably fallen in the last couple of years,
It
but
has,
still.
but it's yeah.
There was a point where
Yeah.
4% of the population was consuming 80% of the opioids.
Yeah. And I think it was specifically like OxyContin.
Yeah.
It's like similar numbers probably to guns. It's like two things that kill everybody.
Yeah.
I think we could just do a better job.
Yeah.
Can we, I think we can
Let's
all
work on
agree
it.
that we can just
Let's
like do a
work
better
on it,
job.
Well, Rachel, this was awesome. The book is called Tell Me Where It
Tell Me
Hurts,
Where It
The New
Hurts.
Science of Pain and How to Heal.
Yeah.
It's awesome. It was worthy of a conversation at dinner. I think you'll find that to be the case as well. And the cutest last name ever, Zoffness. It's almost softness. It's like softness with a speech impediment.
Well, with the hardest letter.
Yeah,
So it's like
Zoff.
mixed messages.
X might have made it a little harder, but yeah. Zoffness. What a cute name. Okay, thanks for coming. I
Yes,
enjoyed
Thanks for
this.
having me.
All
Thanks
right.
to you both. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.